What's up, guys? Welcome back to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Tesla stock, ticker symbol TSLA, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Friday, March 8th. All right, guys, Tesla stock here today. It's up $2.11 per share, 1.2%, which, honestly doesn't sound like a lot, but when we look at the actual chart movement, the price action here, when we consider after hours and pre-market, if we go down from yesterday's close, which of course is going to be seen as zero in terms of percent gain today, we were actually down about 2.5% at the lows of pre-market this morning. So we had to dig out of that hole before we could even get to 1.2% green. I'm taking this as a win today for the bulls on Tesla. That was quite the recovery here today. But let's dive in here and take a look. It's essentially flat after hours, so let's start with our daily ritual, the volume profile analysis here on the 5-minute chart. If you have not done so already here, please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. My goal is 5,000. I think within the next week or so, and I think we can get there, but it's not going to happen without your support, so I really do appreciate it, and I'll keep the videos coming. By the way, this is going to be fun here. I need your vote. From here on out, every single day, I'm going to be covering a wild card stock. Okay, but it's going to be voted on by you guys, the viewer, every day. So each day, I'll tally up the comments. I will legitimately go through and physically count this every day. And whichever ticker has the most comments, I will cover as the wild card stock the next day. So tonight, or if you're watching this Friday morning, we are voting for Friday afternoon/evening's video. The stock that I'll cover in addition to the others as a wild card. So go ahead, comment your ticker. And while you're doing that, I will get started here with the volume profile analysis. So there are a couple of obvious moves today that I'm watching. I'm watching really this recovery that we saw right around starting at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. This midday upside move was substantially green. I'm taking a look at that. And then, as always, I kind of want to look at the close. Okay, but I also want to take a look at that open and see if that was out of context for time of day. Because what I'm really looking for is kind of odd changes in volume that correlate with these moves, but it has to be outside of the lens, the context of what we would typically expect that time of day. So if we look here, let's start from the close here. Just keep it interesting. Honestly, this is almost less volume than what is typically contextual during a day because we didn't even see it tick up until that what is likely fund and institutional rebalancing on that first after hours candle. So listen, downside move bears, sorry, but there's really nothing there. Intraday here, I mean, we did start to see the bullish volume ticking up, which is a little bit out of the ordinary, but honestly, we saw that with the bearish side too. We have to remain unbiased, otherwise the analysis is useless, right? So, sorry, bulls, nothing there. In terms of this upside move that we got, kind of the recovery before the fade, what I really want to do is kind of compare both of those. And we did see a couple of green candles pumping higher, but truthfully, I'd prefer to see 3 or more since these two weren't very consistent. If we had 2 consistent candles up at 2.5 or 3 million, then I would certainly be looking at, but sorry, bulls, nothing there. Off the open, we did see a big 5 million share opening candle, but again, this is the 5-minute. If we look at yesterday, we actually didn't quite see that, not even close on the 5-minute yesterday. So, we could call that potentially a win on the open for bulls, and honestly, considering the hole that we were driving out of when that open hit, I'll take that. That's something to look at. And, also we have to consider that if we had faded downside the rest of the day, I would probably be not saying the same thing because it would have become meaningless with newer information. However, we actually held that move for the most part off the open on pretty substantial volume that beat yesterday by quite a bit, 5 million plus shares in one 5-minute bar. So listen, interesting. I'll take that. Let's take a look now at the 30-minute chart. Important levels that we're going to see traders trading around here tomorrow that I'm watching incredibly closely. Now, this 177.40 line, what that is really showing, I should really redraw that one of these days, is that 177.50 to 180 range that we've been discussing so heavily for, honestly, it feels like months now, probably at least weeks. But what I'm really interested in, since that's kind of a daily level, and we'll get to that, don't worry. What I'm really interested in is the moving averages here on the 30-minute, the self-fulfilling prophecy, psychological areas of interest. And Tesla has been struggling to reclaim that 50 period for a little while now here. And we have reclaimed it now today. And upon that reclaim, which really occurred, we kind of tried to do so in the morning, failed, and then broke through. You know, the volume on the attempt was a little bit higher, of course. That's likely why we saw some of this higher volume off the open, if I had to, you know, lay a guess out there. But on this breakup through, the volume really wasn't anything too impressive. I would say average volume. I would have loved to see that on above average volume, but, you know, listen, we're also trying to reclaim that 177.50 break into that very obvious channel, so I'll take it. If I'm a bull here tomorrow on the 30-minute, ideally I want to see this 50 period, which is going to require the stock to go upside on ideally above average volume, but I want to see this 50 period get back above 177.50 at least, if not $180 a share. That's my primary concern on the 30-minute if I'm a bull here tomorrow. Bears, a break downside through the 50 period here on the 30-minute chart is a big win for you guys, especially if it's done on pretty decent volume. Now, let's move on here to the 4-hour chart and see. Honestly, the 4-hour in terms of context, it's not too contextual here, but I can't just ignore the 4-hour because it comes into play pretty quickly, and if you're ignoring it, you might miss something. Like you can see all of these tests here. There were a lot of traders likely shorting off of that level and probably made quite a bit of money doing so. I mean, you could have risked a very minimal amount, especially as we were getting under $200 a share with pretty big, you know, reward to risk ratio trades there. But just to keep it quick here on the 4-hour chart, bears, ideally you'd want to see this 50 period curling downside quickly. The 200 period's not going to wiggle too much here in the short term, but the 50 period you can see movement day to day, and it can sometimes be substantial, 5 points, if not, you know, maybe a little bit more on a single day when it's accelerating. So bears, you'd prefer to see this starting to curl downside at an accelerated rate, get just an additional psychological barrier heading down toward that channel to try to help keep the stock below that channel. Bulls, ideally you'd like to see this flatten out, which is likely to, you know, require at least sideways, if not higher movement to start to see this 50 period flatten out on the 4-hour and stay far away from that 177.50 to 180 channel. Which, speaking of the channel, let's head on over here to the daily chart, which is where this becomes very, very in play. Now, the story here is very simple on Tesla tomorrow. You always want the most obvious story, okay? Because that's the one that has the most eyeballs and the most decisions being made around it. 177.50 to 180 is the most obvious story. Now, if you're a bull, that level kind of turns into 177.50 as a backstop, but really it's kind of 180. You want to get up out of that channel. So ideally, if I'm a bull, it's really simple. I want to close above 180 tomorrow. Okay, and yeah, the stock goes up, sure, but it's more than that. It's not about $1.35 in the stock, right? I mean, we're talking less than 1%. It's about the principle and the story that tells the bulls that we're able to hold that channel and close up outside of it. Sorry, the story we tell the bears, I suppose. You know, how do you discourage the bears if you're a bull? Get the stock up out of that channel and close it, because, I mean, believe me, it's not something we're making up. This channel's being watched. And I've had this drawn for quite a long time here. So bulls, get up above 180 and close. Okay, bears, really simple. Close below 177.50. Ideally, just so there's no question about it, because we did close below on Wednesday's trading day. Just get down below maybe 176, 175, and make it official. All right, if you're a bear, that's really what you're looking for to discourage some bulls. Now, my favorite part of the video here. What was the bias in the options chain? Traders positioning themselves today heading into tomorrow. 2.1 million contracts traded, 1.14 million of those were calls, and 971,000 of those were puts here Thursday. But because that's not really overwhelmingly call side bias, but it is call side bias. But if we break this down by time frame, and you start looking, okay, that 0 to 20 short-term speculator delta range, because on average, those are going to be, you know, those far out of the money contracts, but on average, they're much more shorter dated. The expirations are much shorter than, say, an 81 to 100 delta range, which is going to be a lot of leaps. In that short-term range of 0 to 20, we had about 487,000 calls and about 287 1,000 puts. So that's a pretty heavy call side bias for those out of the money, speculative, gambly style calls and puts. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Before you head out, remember to cast your vote for which ticker you'd like to see as the wild card stock covered here tomorrow, Friday. Just leave that ticker down in the comment section and that will count as your vote. And if you got value out of this video on the way out as well, please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.